making a video. Still fighting the cold. Really nasty little cold, but yeah, seems rather horrid. Anyway, so I was thinking about this whole, there's different layers of people talking about similar subject in the sense of credibility of arguments or philosophy. Apparently Skeptical Heretic had some fight with some guy because he called something a pseudoscience, sociology or something, which, yeah, I think pretty much is a pseudoscience. I think physics is now, theoretical physics is pretty much a pseudoscience. I mean, it really has gotten silly. The physicists don't even agree. There's no consensus about anything. And they're just pretty much making shit up. That they have very little evidence for, let's put it that way. And they're just, forcing things to fit into the puzzle. But the puzzle's looking a bit like a pile of crap. Anyway, I don't want to get into arguments about what constitutes an official pseudoscience, but I'm just saying, and sociology has a lot of this made up shit. They find an artifact and start drawing all kinds of conclusions about how many people got divorced over it and who was in love with who and who did this and who did that and why they did it. And it's just, they're just making this shit up. They're just telling a story. And then you got this real science, hard science, you could say, on the other end, that you'd like to be rock solid. And what constitutes credibility? So the Skeptical Heretic said something like, hey, I'm going to default to, people with credentials. Thunderfoot, this kind of hurts my voice, kind of knows what he's talking about, because he's a scientist. So I defer to him. Well, what if he says something stupid? Like, if a woman's really raped, she goes to the cops. I mean, he said that, right? So he wasn't being too scientific when he was analyzing the subject of females and the relationship between males and exploitation of females, which, he seems to have absolutely no clue whatsoever on that subject, where he actually thinks that, it's going to do the raped woman some good to go to the cops and get fundamentally raped a second time by a bunch of insensitive males, known for their insensitivity towards women, notoriously insensitive. And of course, most women who are raped have a whole pile of evidence, that they collected at the scene of the crime, and they have a video of the whole rape, and so they, there's absolutely no reason for them to have any apprehension about going to trial and being stuck in a position of having their word against somebody else's word. No problem there. I mean, it's just an amazingly ignorant thing for the scientist to say. And so, you got to be real careful about what gives somebody some credentials is more about their temperament over time, their reliability over time. I mean, I had a conversation with Thunderfoot where he basically said philosophy is inherited. You see, if everybody gets the philosophy of not having children, that it'll automatically die out as a philosophy. You see, because you breed philosophy. The people who believe in not having children must have been produced by people who didn't have children, right? I mean, my parents obviously didn't have children. That's how I became a anti-natalist, is that my parents didn't have children. I mean, he's a scientist. And that's almost a biology question, and he couldn't even get that one right. It's supposed to be right in his specialty. So anyway, credentials are a tricky business. And some people are fairly careful, fairly reliable. I could bring up like Richard Dawkins. He says some things sometimes that are, out of bounds. but he usually prefaces them with the appropriate statement like, I'm just talking out of my ass, and so they don't fart, because he's not obligated. Once he's said, I'm talking out of my ass, it doesn't have to make any sense anymore. And, so there's people that can be careful to maintain the credibility of their statements and their the lineage of it. What's the word? I'm looking for a word for credibility over time. I know there's a word for that. But their authority is based on some sort of earned reliability, and a lack of willingness to go too far or be too reckless or be too thoughtless, to be too knee-jerky in answering questions. So you could argue that although Thunderfoot's a scientist, he might have less discipline in what he says than some religious nut. So even though the religious nut might have less credible evidence, less credible arguments, they may make their arguments in such a careful way as to be able to say what they're saying with more credibility, because they'll say, I can't help you have faith, young man, but you must have it before you can understand it. I mean, it's just the way it is. I'm sorry you don't like the way God made the universe, but he made it this way where you won't see the light until you look for the light, or some kind of crap like that. And it could sound it is logical if the premise is correct, but it's not logical, obviously, for somebody standing outside of that circumstance. It's perfectly reasonable for them to say, well, yeah, that's just too bad, because standing outside of that circle, I see no reason to step into that circle. So I can't play wacky ball. Because I live in reality, and in reality I understand physics and mechanics, and there's no logic to what you're saying. I have to be an imbecile to be enlightened? Oh, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't bash my brains in and then say, oh, I'm much smarter now. That doesn't sound right. Well, anyway, I'm getting kind of far afield of where I wanted to go. So anyway, there was just a couple of videos. Like I said, Snake Plisskenus chimed in some sort of defense of, well, he was also picking on Thunderfoot, who is an asshole. I wish Snake Plisskenus was more of a real human. I mean, I wish he was more honest about what his game is, because he does seem to have some knowledge on some subjects, and it doesn't sound like Wikipedia kind of knowledge. It sounds like he actually studied some of this shit, and I wish he'd just out himself on that and quit pretending that he's just playing the role of dumbass. I mean, it's just even, it's just so depressing when people that can be better lower their standards and just become tricycle riders. They're just saying, damn, you could do better than that. A lot better than that. But anyway, that's a whole side subject. So anyway, it came up also in the modern mystic conversation, this whole levels of conversation, and that there's conversation you have that's casual. Good luck. You say to somebody, good luck, have a nice time, blah blah blah, like that's going to mean something. Like wishing good luck is somehow, I have the power of wish power, and obviously I don't have any of that. I hope everything goes okay. Well, gee, that's useless. What does that mean? I mean, it's nice of you, I suppose, but gee, it just doesn't mean anything, does it? So this is kind of mush talk that gets humans through their day, but it doesn't have any power. It doesn't fix anything. It's just stupid. it's ignorant of the real mechanism, and the real advice that you maybe should be giving people, which is always cautionary, is most people are too comfortable, so you probably should be saying, look out for bears, be paranoid as fuck, there's drunks on the road, remember that. We probably should keep people very inhibited rather than liberated, if we were really giving a damn about them. If we really cared about people, you'd want to convince them not to do anything, to hide in their safe room, if you really cared about them. Because any endorsement you give them to doing anything aggressive in the world has every probability of statistically wiping some of those people out. Yeah, so you're killing people with your kindness, ironically. This is the way it works out. It's like feeding the poor. You're just sentencing them to more death and horror, because they'll just use the money to make babies, use the food to make more babies that they can't feed, ironically. So anyway, what else do I want to go with this? I really just want to get to the idea that it's like almost every subject you're going to have to start with the beginning, and that somehow we really aren't having a conversation. So the mystic is right in that sense, that the biggest problem with conversation between people on the internet or anywhere is that they're all talking from a different knowledge base, from different towers of perspective. Some completely idiotic, where they're looking the wrong way. They're talking about that stream and they're looking that way, and they're totally out of the game. They're religious nuts. So there's all kinds of conversation created out of all kinds of nonsense. And it would be nice to have a test of sort, or badges that we wear. I accomplished understanding of evolution badge. I accomplished the understanding that physics may well just be a bunch of little crap. Okay, it's just in arrangements. And the arrangements of the crap we call different things. When it's arranged this way, we call it electron. When it's arranged this way, we call it an atom. Sorry, disgusting but necessary. Anyway, yes, horse shit. Disgusting but necessary. Not really though. Yeah. So what was I? So yeah. Anyway, we all gotta. It's like these big giant wheats here. Some are taller than others. Different points of view. But yeah, we gotta. It's like we have to build a system where we can know who we're talking to. It just comes out at you. You sit there and read a comment section, some nutball starts talking about UFOs or something. And you're like, why are you even communicating with me? Don't you see I'm wearing a no UFO button? I don't want to hear that crap. Till you got some evidence, shut up. It's mush. It's made up drivel. It's less credible than God. So anyway, so I probably said enough. I don't have the solution in my pocket, but it is something I'm kind of working on in terms of trying to figure out a way to standardize conversation. Oblige people on some subjects to, read a pro and a con paper, let's say, that's of limited size, so it's not too voluminous, a couple of pages on a subject written by the people who are for one position and the opposite position, and they have knowledge of the arguments, and then they get into the conversation. And they have to acknowledge the arguments that have already been made and not pretend the argument wasn't made. There's just a lot of that going on. I mean, I see people comment in videos where in the very video I made, I answered that comment. And you're just like, what are you doing? What, you want me to play my own video at you again? It's stupid. It should be somehow illegal to do things like that. To force somebody to actually say exactly what they said in the video over again. Just very slowly. Hey, look at that. Free pair of magnifiers, I guess. Yeah, $2 glasses. Wow, cool. Free pair of 50-cent glasses. Anyway, till next time and such.